The first fight night is Paddy versus Justin. First of all, Paddy's got to win that fight against Justin Gaethje. If he does, he becomes the interim champion of the world. So that's what...
With him, I'd love to have a brawl for 5 rounds. As he said, him versus Michael Johnson, how he introduced himself to the UFC. I'd love to have a fight like that. But
it's up for everybody. And there's going to be no Paddy and Ilya. I'm going to do the same thing I did for that fight. And then I'm going to fight Ilya.
All right, so get this. The pros are absolutely buzzing, revealing why they think Justin Gaethje is making a colossal mistake. A truly perilous choice by stepping into the octagon with Paddy Pimblett. This isn't just a fight, folks. This is the headline fight that absolutely everyone in the MMA world is talking about right now, sparking endless debates. Experts are sounding the alarm, warning Justin that facing Paddy, especially at this moment, is less of a challenge and more of a meticulously crafted trap. Pimblett's notoriously unpredictable style, his lightning-fast, deceptive strikes, and his incredibly crafty, opportunistic grappling game could undeniably expose deep-seated weaknesses that Gaethje simply can't afford to have highlighted. Yet, we can't forget Justin's sheer raw power, which remains an ever-present terrifying threat to anyone he faces. This isn't just a brawl, it's shaping up to be a high-stakes, intellectual chess match where just one single, wrong move could unravel everything for either fighter, bringing their night a sudden, dramatic end.
I'm not going to make that stupid mistake James Vick did and call him Homer Simpson and get knocked the fuck out.
You know, it's fascinating because Ilia Topuria himself recently highlighted a significant, almost seismic shift in Paddy Pimblett's career trajectory. Topuria, who is undeniably considered a very dangerous fighter in his own right, explained that he was actually originally slated to face Paddy. But now, in a truly unexpected turn, Paddy is getting the massive opportunity to step up against none other than Justin Gaethje. Topuria, along with the legendary Joe Rogan, have both been very vocal in emphasizing a critical point: Justin's signature, all-out brawling style, while thrilling to watch, inherently leaves him incredibly vulnerable. They believe this aggressive approach could be completely exploited by Paddy's precision striking, which is far more nuanced than people give it credit for, and especially by his highly effective grappling. This isn't just some ordinary fight, it's a matchup that, if everything aligns, could very easily turn into one of the most shocking upsets we've seen in recent memory within the sport.
Justin Gaethje.
Easy.
Wow.
Easy.
Really easy?
Yeah, easy.
Really easy?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a crazy thing to say because Justin Gaethje's a fucking animal.
Yeah, but he doesn't know how to grapple. And Paddy knows
But
that.
he's a Division I wrestler. He knows how to grapple. You don't think he knows how to grapple? He just chooses not to. He chooses to stand and fight.
I don't think so. Did you ever saw him submitting someone?
I don't believe he's ever submitted someone, but I think that's because he likes to just crush people. He likes to bang it out and fight. He used to fight.
What everyone likes is to dominate people and to win as soon as possible.
And speaking of respected opinions, Sean O'Malley has made it explicitly clear that he absolutely sees Paddy Pimblett as a serious, legitimate threat to Justin Gaethje's standing in the lightweight division. O'Malley, with his keen eye for combat, is particularly impressed by Paddy's remarkable ability to stay incredibly sharp, to keep his composure and awareness, even when he's absorbing massive, skull-rattling shots. He specifically pointed to instances like those brutal left hooks that Paddy effortlessly handled against a beast like Michael Chandler as proof of his unbelievable resilience. Pimblett's dynamic versatility is what truly makes him so unpredictable. You never quite know what he's going to throw at you. And honestly, his sheer durability, that's genuinely frightening to behold. He truly embodies the spirit of a Scouser, a fighter who simply doesn't get knocked out easily, possessing a grit that runs bone deep. Make no mistake, Justin is now stepping into a fight where the margins are razor thin, and literally one wrong move, one lapse in judgment, could completely end his night.
I don't know, dude. I'm kind of leaning towards Paddy. But the way he does get hit with left hooks, he looks so good against Michael Chandler. Paddy's got a lot of ways to win.
He's a Scouser.
He's a Scouser. Scousers don't get knocked out, you mushroom.
He KO'd Dustin with a head kick too. The fight before the Max Holloway one, which is pretty impressive.
It's a telling sign when even Justin Gaethje himself admits that he's stepping into nothing short of a storm by agreeing to fight Paddy Pimblett. He's acutely aware that Paddy's surging confidence and undeniable momentum aren't just minor advantages, they are major, potent weapons in their own right, capable of swinging the tide of any fight. Justin knows, deep down, that he'll need to deliver a flawless, absolutely perfect performance just to simply keep pace with Pimblett, let alone dominate him. But here's the stark truth, the unvarnished reality. Gaethje might be critically overestimating his own ability to dictate and control the flow of this fight. Pimblett, you see, is a fighter who actually thrives under immense pressure. He feeds off that chaos. He has a frightening knack for capitalizing on even the smallest mistakes instantly, with lightning speed, and he possesses a diverse arsenal of tools specifically designed to punish even the most seasoned veteran strikers in the game.
No, Paddy Pimblett, I mean, this guy's got a ton of momentum, you know, a ton of confidence, and those are two variables that are tough to beat. I'm gonna have to really steal that momentum early and stay in my shell. You know, I know this kid's gonna be trying to kill me, and I know he's gonna make mistakes, so I have to be ready to take advantage of these mistakes and fight a perfect fight. At the highest level, it's who makes mistakes first, and I'm gonna need to teach him that.
Now, if you listen to Paddy Pimblett talk about this fight, he sounds absolutely brimming with confidence. And let me tell you, that kind of self-belief can be incredibly dangerous when channeled correctly. He's very clearly and very deliberately targeting Justin Gaethje's legs, an area where many believe Gaethje's resilience and speed have regrettably declined over time, showing the wear and tear of a brutal career. If Paddy manages to effectively slow Justin down in the early rounds by compromising his movement and base, the entire dynamic of the fight completely changes, tipping heavily in Pimblett's favor. On the ground, there's no question that Pimblett holds a massive, almost insurmountable advantage with his slick submissions and positional control. But don't sleep on his stand-up either. Even on the feet, his expert timing, combined with his relentless pressure, could genuinely overwhelm Justin faster and more decisively than many people are currently expecting.
I think it'll be quite poetic if I end up finishing him with leg kicks, which I can see he doesn't really throw his anymore. Stop throwing, I'm gonna damage his calf, and if it does go to the ground, it'll be over even faster. Beat him to the punch on the feet, ruin his legs with kick.
And we absolutely have to listen when Ronaldo Moicano highlights just how profoundly dangerous Paddy Pimblett truly is, especially if Justin Gaethje fails to establish control early and decisively. Moicano points out that Paddy's grappling and submission skills are profoundly underrated by the wider MMA community. They are far more sophisticated and threatening than people realize. He warns that if Justin becomes even slightly sloppy or makes a single defensive error, he could very easily get finished, abruptly ending the fight in a way no one anticipates. This isn't merely going to be 5 rounds of striking exchanges. Moicano emphasizes that this is a highly intricate chess match, demanding strategic brilliance from both sides. He makes it clear anyone who is foolishly underestimating Pimblett going into this bout is making a colossal mistake, because Paddy has a demonstrated capability to punish those errors faster and more brutally than most expect.
Tough matchup, you know? Yeah. I think 5 rounds, if... this is the common take. Everybody gonna say that, not only me, but if Justin Gaethje doesn't stop him on the beginning, he's going to lose. I think everybody thinks like that. And I think Paddy Pimblett will beat Justin Gaethje. That's what I thought.
Outfighter's insightful analysis truly shows us exactly why Paddy is so rapidly evolving into a bona fide, serious threat within the lightweight division. It's not just hype. He's visibly and constantly improving his strength and conditioning, looking bigger, more powerful, and genuinely stronger with each successive fight he undertakes. While Justin Gaethje is renowned for bringing chaos and raw power to every single one of his matchups, Paddy's calculated strategy, his unwavering patience, and his remarkable composure under fire give him all the crucial tools necessary to exploit even the slightest opening. For fans who are perhaps mistakenly convinced that Gaethje will simply dominate this encounter, they are fundamentally overlooking just how incredibly smart, tactically astute, and truly adaptable Pimblett has become inside that unforgiving cage.
I don't think Gaethje will do that. Do I think Paddy can win? 100%. I think this kid is doing it right, man. He is constantly seemingly like he's working on his strength and conditioning. He's always looking bigger and stronger every time that we see him inside of that cage.
You know, Chael Sonnen, a man known for his blunt honesty, has openly admitted that even he initially misjudged Paddy Pimblett, viewing him primarily as more hype than genuine substance in his early career. But Sonnen is quick to concede that that narrative, that initial assessment, has unequivocally changed. He acknowledges that Paddy has definitively outgrown the label of a mere regional fighter and has unequivocally evolved into a legitimate, undeniable threat within the UFC. The very idea that Justin Gaethje can simply walk through him, steamroll him with sheer aggression, is not just risky, it's a dangerous delusion. Sonnen reminds us that Pimblett has proven time and again that he is far, far more than just a loudmouth and a distinctive haircut. He's a highly skilled, dangerous competitor.
Can he knock out Paddy the Baddy? I gotta tell you, I don't think... I've got to know Paddy over the years. And before I knew him, when I stereotyped him and painted him with a brush, he was a regional fighter with a funny haircut, and he was pretty good on the mic. And you're going to be able to sell some tickets in the right market. This is who Paddy was. I do not have that opinion.
In fact, Din Thomas brings up a really crucial point, highlighting Paddy Pimblett's undeniable craftiness. Yet, it's truly astounding how many people still drastically underestimate just how dangerous that attribute actually is in the octagon. Paddy's remarkable comfort off his back, his surprisingly effective length for his division, and his uncanny ability to deliberately create chaos within the fight dynamics, all combine to make him an absolute nightmare matchup for many. Yes, without a doubt, Justin Gaethje brings an unparalleled level of violence to every single encounter, but Thomas wisely reminds us that violence alone simply doesn't beat meticulously planned strategy. The infamous Jared Gordon fight is often unfairly used against Paddy to discredit him. Yet anyone who truly understands the nuances of MMA knows that styles make fights, and frankly, Justin is far more predictable in his approach than many care to admit. Paddy thrives, absolutely flourishes, in those messy, scramble-heavy moments, and if Gaethje charges forward without the necessary discipline, that very aggression could ironically be the exact vulnerability Pimblett needs to turn the entire fight around in his favor.
Paddy Pimblett's crafty. He's a crafty fighter. He's got a very strong skill set. He's not afraid to fight off of his back. He doesn't wrestle all that well, but he uses his length well in terms of his kicks. But I just think the amount of violence that Justin Gaethje brings to the fight is going to be too much for Paddy. I mean, we saw what Paddy did against Jared Gordon, and a lot of people think he lost that fight. And Justin Gaethje is not Jared Gordon. You know what I'm saying?
Dan Hardy believes that patience is going to be the absolute key for Justin Gaethje in this matchup, but let's be real, that's far, far easier said than done for a fighter like Justin. Gaethje has, throughout his entire career, always been a fighter who feeds off chaos, who thrives in the uncontrolled storm, not one who is defined by restraint or measured calm. Asking him to stay composed and strategically patient for multiple rounds against a relentless pressure fighter like Paddy Pimblett is an incredibly risky proposition. Pimblett's unique movement patterns, his relentless pace, and his inherent unpredictability can, and likely will, force crucial mistakes, especially if Justin starts getting frustrated and begins overtly chasing a finish. One mistimed entry, one rushed exchange, and it could easily put Gaethje into the kind of scrambling, uncomfortable positions he desperately wants to avoid. Yes, raw power is always a valuable asset, but against a durable, hungry, and opportunistic opponent like Paddy, too much patience can very quickly devolve into debilitating hesitation.
I think Gaethje can absolutely get it done, the ways that I've explained is, in my mind, the best way for him to do it, to close the cage down. And even if it takes a couple of rounds for Paddy to kind of overmove himself a little bit, if Gaethje's patient and he finds his opportunity, we know that he can knock anybody.
And here's where Neil Dalla's insight really hits home, raising one of the most uncomfortable, inconvenient truths about Justin Gaethje's career. Elite grapplers have consistently, undeniably, been his biggest problem. Outside of a truly rare few exceptions, Justin simply hasn't shown strong, reliable answers once his fights hit the mat, struggling to regain control or escape danger. Paddy Pimblett, with his underrated grappling prowess, represents that exact, terrifying danger in spades. Now, if you add the undeniable factor of age into this complex equation, the already slim margin for error that Justin possesses becomes even smaller, almost non-existent. If this fight were to somehow turn into prolonged grappling exchanges, or wild, uncontrolled scrambles, it would heavily, unequivocally favor Paddy. That's precisely why so many insiders, the true strategists of the sport, are quietly seeing Justin as incredibly vulnerable here. This isn't just fan hype, it's a legitimate, deeply uncomfortable stylistic nightmare for Gaethje.
Yeah, I would probably do the same, just because if you look at Justin's fights, he's never really fought good grapplers and performed well. I'm trying to think if he's fought like grapplers, but he hasn't really. Besides Habib and Charles, he's never fought really good grapplers. So I could see why they would put him as an underdog. He's older. Yeah.
Colby Covington, with his characteristically blunt assessments, paints this fight as absolute desperation territory for Justin Gaethje. And frankly, that alone should be setting off major alarms for anyone paying attention. When a fighter steps into the cage knowing deep down that a loss could potentially spell the definitive end of everything they've worked for, that immense pressure fundamentally alters their decision-making process. Justin may very well come out with his usual aggressive, violent abandon, but that very urgency, that desperate need for a finish, can actually work entirely against him. Here's the key. Paddy Pimblett doesn't need to dominate every single exchange to win. He just needs to relentlessly drag Justin into those uncomfortable, unfamiliar positions where Gaethje struggles most. Clean scrambles, relentless clinch pressure, and a barrage of unpredictable transitions. These are all elements that unequivocally favor Paddy. The naive idea that this is just some easy matchup specifically designed to build Pimblett's resume completely ignores the brutal reality of the situation. If anything, Justin is being asked to somehow survive a highly dangerous stylistic trap while simultaneously carrying the immense, crushing weight of a possible career-ending loss on his shoulders.
You know, I think Justin's still a tough dog, and he's going to come out there and give his all, and he doesn't want to lose this fight. This could be his last fight if he loses. So, you know, I think he's going to put Paddy to the test, and, you know, Paddy, you know, usually has to control the wrestling aspect, put guys to the ground to get his submission and to get his striking game working. So, you know, I don't know. Justin's shot on one hand, they're trying to give him an easy win on a silver platter to Paddy.
Dan Hooker. Now, some will inevitably question whether Paddy Pimblett has truly been tested at the elite level, a perfectly valid skepticism. But it's crucial to understand that such doubt cuts both ways in this scenario. Yes, undeniably, this is a massive step up in competition for Paddy, but it is equally, if not more so, an incredibly dangerous one for Justin Gaethje. Paddy simply doesn't fight like a traditional, conventional contender. He actually thrives in chaos, adapts with remarkable speed, and maintains an extraordinary level of composure even under the most intense pressure. Justin's vaunted takedown defense, while appearing sharp on paper and in highlight reels, hasn't consistently held up against genuinely relentless, high-level grappling threats, a category Pimblett undoubtedly falls into. This fight, therefore, isn't about mere favoritism or narrative. It's profoundly about timing. Paddy is undeniably rising. He's fearless in his approach, and he's improving at an alarming rate, while Justin is simultaneously being forced into a high-risk, high-stakes matchup at arguably the absolute worst possible moment in his illustrious career. Make no mistake, that's Paddy Pimblett, folks.
Would Paddy Pimblett being the favorite against Justin Gaethje?
Nah, I don't think it's the favorite. I wouldn't have him. Gaethje's takedown defense is pretty sharp. I don't see him. I don't know. Like, we just haven't seen like Paddy in there get in there that often and mix it up with the best guys in their prime. So it's a big opportunity for him, but we'll see. He's smart. Like, that's just the way to do it.
Justin Gaethje is publicly framing this fight as just another test of his legendary grit. Another opportunity to display his unwavering toughness. But that very mindset could actually be the root of his problem. Relying solely on sheer toughness and raw willpower at this advanced stage of his brutal career is an incredibly risky gamble, especially when you're facing a younger, hungrier, and aggressively rising opponent like Paddy Pimblett. Getting rocked early in a fight and simply trusting in your durability to see you through isn't a sound strategy. It's undeniably gambling with your career. Paddy doesn't fight anything like Michael Johnson or any of Justin's past. more predictable opponents. He actively forces chaos, skillfully turning wild scrambles into potent weapons, and he simply doesn't fade or break when things inevitably get ugly and uncomfortable inside the cage. The subtle talk about fight night bonuses and his shifting motivations subtly reveals a concerning shift in Gaethje's underlying priorities. Paddy, on the other hand, wants absolutely everything: momentum, undeniable status, and a career-defining statement win. Justin, it seems, is primarily looking for survival and perhaps one last big, lucrative night. That fundamental difference in hunger, that disparity in their deepest desires, genuinely mattered. If Justin mistakenly assumes he can absorb a significant amount of damage early on and eventually take over the fight through sheer will, he may tragically find himself drowning in an unforeseen storm long before his legendary grit ever has a chance to become a decisive factor.
He's, with his aggression and his hunger, I think this is going to be same as every other Michael Johnson type fight where I might get rocked a couple times, but my grit and tenacity and will to win is going to, overcome. So I'd rather, he wants both bonuses. That's the difference between age. Now I just want one bonus, performance of the night.
Luke Thomas, with his characteristic sharp analysis, breaks down this fight in what is arguably the most honest, unflinching way possible. He makes it abundantly clear: the numbers simply do not lie. Paddy Pimblett is consistently active, remarkably effective, and, statistically, he is consistently landing more significant strikes than he absorbs, which is a fantastic metric for success. Justin Gaethje, meanwhile, has painstakingly built an entire career on engaging in damage-heavy exchanges, incredibly thrilling for fans, but encounters that, statistically speaking, don't always favor him in the long run. At its core, this matchup superficially boils down to the classic striker versus grappler dynamic. However, in the ever-evolving landscape of modern MMA, those traditional lines blur incredibly quickly and frequently. Paddy doesn't need to absolutely dominate every single exchange on the feet. He just needs key moments. One clean entry, one wild, chaotic exchange, or one opportunistic scramble can completely and utterly flip the entire fight on its head. Justin's renowned power is always incredibly dangerous, a fight-ending threat, but it often, unfortunately, comes at the expense of his positional awareness and overall balance. If Paddy can successfully force Justin to rethink his deeply ingrained priorities mid-fight, to question his own instincts, then Gaethje's entire meticulously planned game plan could completely collapse. That, my friends, is precisely where Pimblett becomes his most dangerous, when the sheer chaos of the fight forces Gaethje into an agonizing, potentially fatal hesitation.
Do you agree with the odds? Do you agree that Paddy Pimblett with Paddy Pimblett being the favorite against Justin Gaethje?
Nah, I don't think it's the favorite. I wouldn't have him. Gaethje's takedown defense is pretty sharp. I don't see him. I don't know. Like, we just haven't seen Paddy in there get in there that often and mix it up with the best guys in their prime. So
this final perspective truly cuts right through all the distracting noise and preconceived notions that often surround Paddy Pimblett. Far too many people, sadly, judge him prematurely based solely on his appearance, his outspoken personality, or even his regional accent, instead of meticulously evaluating his undeniable skill and tactical prowess. But here's the reality. Inside the cage, he is a fighter defined by patience, an extraordinary level of composure, and he is undeniably far more technical and strategically astute than his harshest critics are willing to admit. His impressive reach, his highly effective kicking game, and his remarkable ability to stay calm under intense, relentless pressure combine to make him an absolute nightmare for fighters who rely predominantly on unbridled aggression like Gaethje. Justin Gaethje may be a proven, certified warrior, a true legend of the sport, but it's also fair to say that he can be somewhat predictable in the way he consistently approaches his fights. And here's the crucial element. Paddy absolutely thrives against that very predictability. While conventional betting logic might still lean heavily toward Justin, primarily based on his established reputation and past accolades, that cold calculation simply doesn't account for the critical factor of timing. Paddy, you see, is improving rapidly, evolving exponentially with each passing fight, while Justin is concurrently fighting an increasingly uphill battle against accumulated mileage, the relentless march of age, and the cumulative damage sustained from a career of brutal wars. This isn't about mere hype anymore. It's about a very real, very dangerous question. Can Justin Gaethje fundamentally adjust his entire approach to contend with a fighter who utterly refuses to panic and who has an almost terrifying knack for punishing every single mistake, no matter how small?